there we go. It's on YouTube. Perfect. Because Twitter will be just as terrible. Let's get Jonathan's wonderful face in 1060p.
Hi,
1080.
I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Well, we're back.
By the way, before we start, may I just say, Jonathan has the nicest voice. Like, the reason the reason I stuck around for that presentation that they did for when they were announcing everything for Path of Exile, like the week before it released, not only because it was like a really great marketing video, it also, like, Jonathan's voice is just so nice and lovely.
Major areas that needs a lot of attention is the base experience of mapping. We've made a lot of changes here. First, in-game maps have received a balance pass to the number of monsters, number of chests, number of magical rare monsters, number of essences, strongboxes, and precursor artifacts. You should generally find maps more rewarding than before. Maps generally specialize in one or more of these elements that they will be particularly rewarding in. Now, towers are...
So I'm assuming that means, like, the base, like, number of chests, better, like, rare, like, monsters. It does seem that, like, loot so far in endgame has not been great. Like, you have good runs and you have really bad runs. And, like, I haven't found any uniques today, but I was finding tons of uniques yesterday. And it seems kind of random as to what you're getting. Like I said, it doesn't seem like the percentage of... Currently, like, it seems like this will be addressed in this patch, but currently what's happening with, like, Waystone chance is that it doesn't feel like the chance actually affects how many Waystones you end up getting. There is RNG to some degree with everything when it comes to loot drops, but it should mean that if you have an increased chance of it happening in your map, you, like, in a 90% increased Waystone should give you less than a 300% increased chance. Or 300% increased Waystones map. But it seems like the ones that have the highest chance of giving you maps actually are the ones that end up being the lowest chance of giving you maps. So, or Waystones, rather. So that was the thing that really was frustrating to me, especially as you get into the mid-tiers. It gets a little bit better once you get past T10, but it does seem now that that'll be a little bit better.
A thing that's very important for players to run often, but we only had one of them. We wanted to add more variety here as soon as possible, so we've added 4 more tower maps. Alpine Ridge, Sinking Spire, Bluff, and Mesa. We've also redone the existing Lost Towers map to make playing there less boring.
It does look like they are now fully basing it on the spires in Tier 2, which is really good because the current Lost Towers, they have, like, all these walls and it makes it extremely hard to see, so you're basically, like, now as a ranger, like, I'm just gassing the corridors and just, like, hoping that nothing just randomly hits me from off screen, because I can't see what's, like, ahead of me, and that's, I think, the biggest problem sometimes that I have, not with Path of Exile, but just ARPGs in general, is the way that certain things from, like, off screen will, like, come and you're not able to react quickly enough to it. So I'm also just not a very skilled player, to be totally fair, but like, it should feel like you have a chance, eh? So hopefully, like, the rework of the Lost Tower, just like the regular one, will be so that way it gets rid of the walls, so you can actually see ahead of what you're doing. Because corridor fighting, whether it's in Doom or Path of Exile, it's not very fun.
We're now also spawning more maps with bosses. The rate was intended to be 1 in 4 maps, but in reality the rate was much lower due to some maps being unable to spawn bosses. We've increased the rate to compensate for this issue so that we can get the actually intended rate. We're also adding a new type of tablet that allows you to add bosses to your maps with its own mod pool. Strongboxes also needed some love.
So like I said, the map bosses are really the only thing I've been able to interact with as a fairly lower skill player, because like, rituals have not felt very rewarding, and deliriums don't feel rewarding, and breaches, I just die instantaneously, no matter what it seems. Because it's just my DPS isn't there, and that's on me, that's not on the game. I think part of it is, like, breaches need to spawn from a little bit further away, or spawn less monsters that close to you. So hopefully there'll be a little bit more balancing. Like, this is not every change in this video, not every change that they're making, so hopefully that will be fixed.
They now spawn monsters faster, have a less annoying fog effect, and have also received changes to the timings and effects of the mods on them. Now, let's talk...
The strong boxes, the loot is just kind of trash. Like, I don't actually mind the strong boxes too much, but the loot doesn't feel like it's worth it to do, so I hope that they've fixed it so that the loot feels, like, useful to do.
Talk about visibility of effects. Many maps had too much clutter, preventing effects on the ground from rendering, causing you to be unable to see and dodge them. We've both changed the level of clutter on some maps, and has changed some effects to make sure that they are always visible. In addition, elemental explosion effects have had visibility improved, stick around for longer before they explode, and disappear without exploding if a rare monster dies. Volatile...
Yeah, so oftentimes, like, if you've watched any recent Path of Exile compilations, you'll see people who are, like, going to pick up the loot off of a rare, and then they just get killed by something, and normally it's like an elemental explosion that hadn't fully finished, and it will explode even though the enemy is dead. So normally it's a good rule of thumb at this point to wait like a full 5 seconds before you like go close to collect loot off of a rare or a boss, because otherwise you just get killed and then it sucks.
Plants are also way easier to see before they explode. Now we've also increased the zoom level on the Atlas.
Somebody did a hack for the zoom level for the Atlas, so it's good to know, because Bridge tried to show me it last night, and I'm like, I'm not that worried about it, but like, that'll be nice to have.
Pass on various terrain collision issues in many maps.
I hope that means
improved the load times of opening the world map and Atlas panel. And we also now show the biome of a map on the hover for it. For other in-game content systems, we're focusing on getting all the rewards in line with what they should be. For Delirium, we recently fixed a bug which caused Delirium monsters to just not spawn after the starting part. And we've also buffed the rate of simulacrums dropping by 20% to make it more in line with the rate of finding the Expedition and Ritual bosses. For Ritual, we've made Omens now appear in the Ritual Tribute window 60% more often.
Yeah, this is my biggest issue with Rituals, is not only would I die to them, but also there was nothing there that was, like, useful for me. So, like, yeah, I've never seen an Omen, but, like, I might participate in the Rituals more now that this will be a thing.
For Expedition, we've improved the rarity from the shops, but we'll be wanting to make some more substantial changes to the rewards for this league later on.
Expeditions are also one that I will interact with, so it's good to hear that they'll be doing a little bit of a balance pass on loot rarity. I really don't think in terms of, like, detonation. I think the biggest problem I had in terms of Expeditions is that you can't use all of your detonating charges. Like, they only go a certain distance, which I think they should go from, like, plinth to plinth, so you have, like, all those different remnants that are unearthed, and then you set a detonator on them, and then they detonate, and you deal with all the effects of those and monsters, and they usually have a chest as well. But you can't reach all of them, even if you have, like, or you're not meant to reach all of them, but you should reach, like, it should reach to a remnant for each detonator. You shouldn't have to use detonator's chain to get to another remnant. Like, just in the middle of, like, non-remnant stuff. So, if that makes any sense.
Content just takes too long, and that when you do finally get there, you only get one attempt and don't get a chance to learn the boss. In order to address these concerns, we're making the following changes. First, we're making the Citadel spawn closer to the center of the Atlas.
Also, it's been very entertaining to listen to people make conspiracy theories about how to find citadels. Because I have found, like I've said, I've found 4 citadels, 2 each of the copper and stone citadels. So I have found 4 citadels without really trying too hard. I think that had to be like less than 100 maps. So yeah, and it just seemed to not be the case for other players. So it's good to hear that they'll be moving that in so we don't have any more conspiracy theories about that. And also it's good to hear about the pinnacle bosses, because one thing I was worried about down the road when I get a character that isn't trash, is how, like, I was going to cope if I did all that mapping and time and energy to get to a pinnacle boss and then only had one attempt to deal with it and then died. And then you would have to go back and grind, because you had to have hundreds and hundreds of these little fragments to make a key in order to get to a boss. And that is bad. So, like, yeah, having more than one attempt to deal with the bosses, so the same way that you have more than one attempt. Well, no, you don't have more than one attempt per map. Well, you do, but you, like, have to use your waystones. But yeah, that makes me feel better as a player, that you're not, like, having to spend thousands of hours grinding on a boss. And then
I've also added an effect so you can see them in the fog of war from further away. This makes them much easier to find. To address the problem of only having one attempt, on the Arbiter of Ash you will now get up to 6 respawn attempts. Respawns can only be triggered by the person who put in the keys, and everyone in your party will be respawned at the same time. Leaving the map still forfeits your attempt, so you'll still need to fight the boss with the build you walked into the map with. Higher difficulties of the boss will lower the number of respawn attempts you get, but you should know the mechanics of the fight by then, right? Now, we'll also be adding respawns to other Pinnacle content as well over time. A lot of people have reported that many of our unique items are feeling underwhelming. Uniques are often designed to be build enabling at high levels, even if they're low level uniques. But we realize that we do need to make sure that more uniques...
Yeah, like Elon Musk's level 52 gloves.
Yeah, level 52 here.
Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
feel powerful when you first get them at low levels too. In this patch we are buffing a lot of uniques. These changes should make finding uniques at lower levels a lot
alright, do I have any of these?
more fun, and make
I do have this. Okay, so you still have no life regen on that. Okay, they've made that smithing hammer much better. I do have that crossbow, so I wonder if this means that they will be updating any uniques that are already in player inventories, or if that's only going to apply to anything new that you pick up.
Another change we're making is to make it so that socketables such as runes can now be overwritten with another socketable.
The socket thing is really, really important because you can't take a socket or a rune out of a socket once it's placed, but being able to replace it, overwrite it with a different rune is really good. Although that's gonna suck, like, if you, like, accidentally did that and you had a soul core in there from the Trials of Chaos, but if you do enough Trial of Chaos, then I guess it doesn't matter.
Now, as we continue to play, we still find many balance anomalies with specific monsters or bosses that can be nasty if you encounter them. This patch contains a pass adjusting a large number of those monsters and bosses. We'll save the full list for the patch notes, but there are a significant number of changes here that should address many cases where monsters or bosses felt too hard in certain circumstances. Here are a few examples to get a taste of what kind of changes you can expect. The Silverfist Commando roll now does a lot less damage.
Silverfist is nasty.
Plague Bearer's Detonate Dead can no longer be used from off-screen and has better telegraphing.
So yeah, I have died to those Plague Bearers like twice today already, so it's really good to hear that they can no longer do it, because that was my main concern, was that they were doing things from off-screen. Like, that was the biggest thing. I'm like, if I can see them doing their attack, and I don't just have things randomly exploding, great, awesome. Like, but yeah, having that stuff from off-screen, bad.
Forsaken Miners throw less grenades, have improved visuals, and deal less damage. And Lost Men Zealots can no longer meteor you from off-screen either, as well as many other changes just like those.
Yeah, the big thing is, I think it's the thing of, like, having stuff killing you from off-screen that makes the stuff feel unfair, especially when you have waystones. When you lose your waystone every time, like, you die, you lose a waystone, and then you have to put a new one in to reattempt a map. So yeah, like dying feels really frustrating in endgame, especially when it's something that like wasn't telegraphed well. So, and especially like with the plague bears, I mind it less when it's something that has a really long build up and you can see it and it's telegraphed, but the explosions for the plague bears is not very long. So yeah.
I want to thank you guys for playing and hope to be doing more of these in the future. Later.
Yeah, no, very, very good patch notes. Or at least patch announcement. That's very exciting. And yeah, obviously addresses a lot of things that have been causing frustration for players. So that's really, really good. Yeah, really, really hoping to feel all those changes, because I feel like those are a lot of things that are very... It's like, this person saw me playing and was like, yes, let's make the changes.